My brother stole my wife's phone, by accident. Now I know they've been sending each other nudes for months. I'm a 34-year-old man, and I thought the worst thing I'd ever deal with in marriage would be paying bills or arguing about chores. I never imagined betrayal like this. It started in the most random way possible. My brother, Mark, came over for dinner one night. We had some wine, laughed a lot, and when he left, my wife, Sarah, realized her phone was gone. She panicked, searching under the couch, in the kitchen, everywhere. Then, half an hour later, Mark texted me from his phone saying, "Oops, I think I grabbed hers by mistake. I'll drop it off tomorrow." At first, it felt like an honest mistake. They both had the same black iPhone case, so maybe it was just a mix-up. But something gnawed at me. Why was he even near her phone? She kept it on her side of the table the whole night. The next day, when he returned it, Sarah seemed nervous. She kept asking if the passcode was still working, if anything was weird. That's when my gut told me something was seriously wrong. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I checked her phone. I shouldn't have, but I couldn't shake the feeling. And that's when my world collapsed. Hundreds of deleted messages, fragments left in the cloud, pictures she thought were gone but weren't, photos of her in lingerie, photos she'd never sent me, screenshots of her saying things like, "Wish you were here instead of him," and the recipient, my own brother. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the edge of the bed, staring at Sarah while she slept peacefully, her face resting on the pillow like nothing in the world was wrong. Meanwhile, I had her phone in my hand, scrolling over and over through the fragments I had found, hoping maybe I was wrong, hoping maybe there was an explanation. But there wasn't. The cloud backups don't lie. Even if you delete a message, sometimes previews remain, and what I saw made me sick to my stomach. Conversations that weren't just flirty, they were explicit. Stuff she never said to me, things she never did with me. She'd send him pictures in hotel rooms, in lingerie, even once in our own bathroom, while I was downstairs watching TV. And Mark, he wasn't just a passive participant. He encouraged it, teased her, told her she was better than anything he ever had. It was surreal. This was my brother, the guy who was supposed to have my back since childhood. We shared bunk beds growing up. We covered for each other when we got into trouble. I trusted him more than anyone, until that night. The next morning, I acted normal. I kissed Sarah goodbye before leaving for work, even though inside, my stomach was twisted into knots. I couldn't confront her yet. I needed to know everything. I needed to be sure before I blew up our lives. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to Mark's apartment unannounced. I told him I was in the neighborhood and figured we could grab a beer. The second I stepped inside, I noticed it, a black lace bra lying on his couch. One I knew wasn't his girlfriend's, because he didn't have one. He saw my eyes linger on it, and quickly threw a hoodie over the couch like nothing happened. He kept the conversation casual, but I couldn't stop scanning the room. Empty wine glasses, a familiar brand of perfume in the corner, a throw blanket that looked exactly like the one Sarah had been searching for weeks ago, swearing she must be left it at a friend's house. Every detail hit me like a punch to the gut. That night, when I got home, I didn't speak to Sarah. I just watched her, watched how often she glanced at her phone, how quickly she locked the screen when I walked by, how she smiled secretly at something she read, only to hide it behind a fake yawn. By the end of the week, I couldn't take it anymore. I set up a simple trick. I connected her iMessage account to my laptop while she was in the shower. She didn't know that all the deleted conversations since to my device. And that's when the full truth came crashing down. Not just nudes, not just dirty talk, but plans. Plans for hotel stays when I was working late. Plans for weekends when I thought she was visiting her mom. Jokes about how stupid I was for never suspecting anything. Mark even wrote, "He's too busy playing the loyal husband role to notice what's right under his nose." I felt physically sick, reading those words. I slammed the laptop shut, my whole body shaking. My wife and my brother, not just sneaking around, but mocking me, laughing at me behind my back. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to hurt someone I loved. I woke up the next morning with the same anger burning in my chest. My hands were literally trembling as I poured my coffee, and Sarah asked if I was okay. I muttered something about bad sleep, and forced myself to sit down. Inside, though, I was boiling. I couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. I needed to see Mark face to face, without any masks, without pretending everything was fine. So that afternoon, I called him. I kept my voice calm, told him we should grab a drink after work, like old times. He sounded casual, even cheerful. He had no idea that I knew. We met at a bar we used to frequent together. As soon as he sat down, I stared at him, my brother, my blood, and all I could see were the words he had typed to my wife. You looked perfect in that red set. Can't stop thinking about you. We ordered beers, and for a few minutes I just let him talk about sports, work, whatever nonsense. I let him relax. And then, without warning, I pulled my phone out of my pocket and opened the Since messages. I slid the screen across the table. His face went white instantly. Mark, I said, my voice shaking. What the F asterisk asterisk K is this? He didn't even try to deny it. He just froze, staring at the words he had written. His mouth opened and closed, searching for an excuse. But nothing came. Finally he muttered, "It's not what it looks like." I slammed my fist on the table so hard the glasses rattled. Not what it looks like. You've been screwing my wife for months, sending her pictures, laughing at me behind my back. Do you have any idea what this has done to me? He reached for my arm, but I pulled back. Look, man, I didn't mean for it to go this far. It just happened. We never wanted to hurt you. Those words made me want to put my fist through his face. We never wanted to hurt you. As if to people sneaking behind my back, in my own house, wasn't the very definition of betrayal. I leaned in, my voice low but venomous. You're my brother. She's my wife. And you both destroyed everything. He dropped his head into his hands, whispering that he was sorry, that it was a mistake. But I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't sorry for what he did, only for getting caught. I stood up, threw a 20 on the table, and told him to never come near me again. When I got home, Sarah was in the kitchen cooking like nothing was wrong. I watched her from the doorway, the way she hummed while she stirred the pot. For a moment I almost convinced myself I should pretend that maybe I could swallow it all and move on. But then she looked up at me, smiled, and asked, "How was your day?" And I saw red. I pulled out my phone again and placed it on the counter, screen glowing with her messages to Mark. She froze, spoon still in her hand, her face drained of color. "Want to tell me why my brother has pictures of you in hotel rooms?" I asked. My voice was so calm it scared me. She stammered, I can explain." "Don't," I snapped. I already heard his excuses. "I want to hear yours." She started crying immediately, saying she was lonely, that I'd been working too much, that it just started with a few messages, and spiraled. She swore she still loved me, that it meant nothing, that it was only physical. But all I could think about were the jokes, the way they mocked me, the way she told him she wished he were her husband sometimes. I told her flat out, "You destroyed everything. Whatever we had, whatever we built, it's gone. You and him, you deserve each other." She dropped to her knees on the kitchen floor, begging me not to leave, promising she'd cut all ties, crying so loud the neighbors probably heard. But in that moment, I felt nothing for her. No pity, no love, just emptiness. I walked upstairs, grabbed a suitcase, and started throwing my clothes into it. And as she followed me up the stairs, sobbing, I looked her in the eyes and said the words I never thought I'd say to the woman I once loved. "You're dead to me." The suitcase lay half-zipped on the bed, shirt spilling out, but I wasn't thinking straight enough to care. Sarah was behind me, sobbing so hard her words were broken between gasps. "Please, don't do this. Don't walk away from us. We can fix it. I swear we can fix it." I turned, my chest heaving. "Fix it? How do you fix months of sneaking around with my own brother? How do you fix mocking me behind my back, laughing about how stupid I was? Tell me, Sarah, how the hell do you fix that?" She reached for me, but I pulled away. Her touch used to be the only thing that calmed me. Now it made my skin crawl. I slammed the suitcase shut and dragged it down the stairs. She followed, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. I knew exactly who she wanted to call. "Don't you dare call him," I snapped. "Don't you dare call Mark while I'm still under this roof." Her face twisted with panic. She dropped the phone on the counter, whispering, "I'll block him. I'll delete everything. Please, just give me a chance." But I didn't answer. I walked out the door, slamming it so hard the frame rattled. I spent the night in my car. I couldn't face going to a hotel yet. I just sat there in the parking lot, staring at the ceiling, replaying every memory in my head. Every time she told me she was working late. Every time Mark had canceled plans last minute, claiming he was too tired. They were building their own world behind my back while I was breaking my back to provide for hours. The next morning, my phone was flooded with messages. "Sarah, please come home. Please let me explain. Mark, we need to talk. Don't do anything stupid." My mom, too. "Mark told me something happened. Are you okay?" That was when I realized he must have told her first. He was already spinning his version of the story. I couldn't let him do that. So I drove straight to my parents' house. Mom was in the kitchen, apron still on, clearly worried sick. Dad sat at the table, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Mark was already there. He had the audacity to look at me like I was the problem. "Listen," he started, hands raised like some kind of peacemaker. I told Mom and Dad because I didn't want this to get out of control. Out of control, I barked, cutting him off. You've been screwing my wife. Mark, the only thing out of control here is you. Mom gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. Dad's eyes narrowed on him. Is that true? He asked. Mark hesitated just a fraction too long, and that was all Dad needed. He stood, his chair scraping back, and roared, "You disgusting little bastard." I'd never seen my father hit one of us before, but that day, he shoved Mark so hard he stumbled into the wall. Under my roof, Dad thundered, with your brother's wife. Mark's excuses poured out. It wasn't serious, it just happened. I didn't mean for it. But Mom was crying. Dad was furious, and I just stood there, numb. Finally, I spoke. You're not my brother anymore. The room went silent. Even Dad stopped, his chest heaving. You hear me, Mark? You're nothing to me. And Sarah, she's nothing to me too. The two of you can have each other, but you'll never have me in your lives again. I left before anyone could stop me. I drove aimlessly, trying to figure out where I even belonged now. The house didn't feel like home anymore. My parents' place was tainted with shame. Everywhere I went, I carried this weight on my chest. Later that night, Sarah showed up at my car. She must have tracked me somehow, maybe through my mom. She tapped on the window, her eyes swollen from crying. I rolled it down just an inch. You win, she whispered. I'll tell your parents everything. I'll tell everyone it was my fault. Just don't leave me. Don't let go of us. For a split second, I almost believed her. But then I thought about the texts, the laughter, the photos she'd sent my brother that were meant to humiliate me. I rolled the window back up and stared straight ahead. She pounded on the glass, screaming my name, but I didn't move. Eventually she collapsed on the curb, sobbing, as I drove away. And for the first time since everything came crashing down, I felt a strange kind of clarity. This wasn't my burden anymore. It was theirs. I didn't go back home that night. I didn't even go back to my parents. I checked into a cheap motel on the edge of town, the kind of place where no one asks questions, and the curtains don't close all the way. For the first time in years, I slept alone in a bed that wasn't mine. And strangely, I slept deeply. When I woke up, I had dozens of missed calls and hundreds of messages. Sir's desperate pleas, Mark's pathetic attempts to explain, my mother's guilt-ridden apologies, my father's silent, call me. I sat there staring at the screen, realizing how my entire world had been reduced to this chaos. This mess created by two people who should have been my safe harbor. But that morning, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let their betrayal chain me to them anymore. I went to a lawyer. The receptionist looked at me, with that pitying smile people give when they can tell your life just blew up. Within an hour, I was sitting across from a man in a gray suit, sliding photos across his desk, showing him the messages, the explicit pictures, the proof. He didn't even flinch. You'll get the divorce, he said matter-of-factly. Adultery this clear. No judge will question it. Hearing it laid out so bluntly almost broke me again. Divorce. The word that felt like failure, like admitting I'd lost everything I thought I'd built. But I nodded, because I knew there was no fixing this. When Sarah was served the papers, she showed up at my motel like a hurricane. She banged on the door until I opened it. Her makeup was smeared, her hair a mess, and she looked like she hadn't eaten in days. You're really going to throw everything away, she screamed. Over one mistake. One mistake, I repeated, my voice ice. Sarah, you sent my brother pictures of yourself for months. You laughed about me with him. You told him you wished he was here instead of me. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Over and over again. Her knees buckled and she sank onto the floor, sobbing. I didn't mean to fall for him. I felt invisible. You were always working, always busy. And Mark, he listened. He made me feel wanted. The words stabbed deeper than any knife, because part of me wanted to scream back. I was working to give us a future. I was busy building the life you said you wanted. But what good would it do? She'd already justified it in her head. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. I closed the door in her face. As for Mark, he tried to play the victim. He texted me things like, "We didn't mean for it to happen," and "Don't let this ruin our family." The audacity of him calling it our family made me sick. Dad stopped talking to him completely. Mom, ever the peacekeeper, kept saying things like, "He's still your brother," but even she couldn't look him in the eyes. At Sunday dinner, his chair was empty for the first time in my life, and it stayed that way. One night, Dad called me privately. His voice cracked in a way I'd never heard before. "I failed you boys," he said. "I should be raised you better than this." And I told him the truth. "You didn't fail me, Dad. Mark failed all of us." The divorce went through in a matter of months. Sarah tried to fight for the house, for spousal support, for anything she could cling to. But every time her lawyer opened his mouth, mine slid another screenshot across the table. She didn't win a damn thing. When it was over, I stood outside the courthouse, the papers in my hand, and I felt empty. Not free, not happy, just empty, like they had carved a hole in me and left nothing behind. But over time, the emptiness became space. Space for me to breathe, to think, to rebuild. I cut Mark out of my life completely. I blocked his number, refused to see him, refused to let him explain himself one more time. He and Sarah didn't last, of course. I heard through the grapevine that they imploded after a few months. Too much guilt, too much shame, too much poison between them and me. I started going to therapy. I started running in the mornings. I started living for myself. Not for a marriage that was already a coffin. It's been a year now. I won't pretend I'm healed. Some nights, I still wake up and see those pictures burned into my eyelids. Some mornings, I still wonder how I didn't see it sooner. But I know this, I survived. I lost my wife. I lost my brother. But I found something else, myself. And maybe that's the only good thing to come out of this nightmare. Still, there are nights where the silence is too loud, where the bed feels too big, where I wonder if I'll ever really trust anyone again. I don't know if I will. I don't know if I even want to try. All I know is, I can't go back. And I won't. Follow me for more stories.